Let's understand first Bitcoin and then we'll go through all the coins. Okay. So, quick recap on last 2 days, and I have posted this chart pattern and explain, but sometime not everything can be explained in detailed way in text, but I'll be able to express in a better way on this call today. Mm, So the way I'm seeing here is, first of all the market movement, the price movement that you see is not related to Bitcoin or not related to any specific coin in crypto. This is COVID related news driving the market. If you look at stock market, you see volatility in stock market as well. So what we're saying here is not just about crypto or Bitcoin, right? It is beyond. Um, I so market just stock market just opened 7 minutes ago, and the futures were green. I'll have to see how what they do. Sometime the market open green, but then immediately they start showing something. So we'll have to keep an eye. Maybe I'll start with that. I know I changed the topic a bit, but it's important. So the Nasdaq, if you look at it, yesterday was green, and then today it corrected, so that's why a little red. This is 12 hours. So if you look at daily, there is this kind of movement is news specific. If you look at it's kind of confused. What I mean by confused means that there is no trend at this moment. Whether it will start the uptrend or downtrend, it depends on the clarity. When you see this kind of a movement down and then all of a sudden complete recovery and then complete loss, and then you see 4 days fine. So this is an indication that market doesn't know what it wants to do, in simple words. And that happens sometimes. Sometimes people are waiting for clues, clarity, and sometimes there could be conflicting news. For an example, the news came from African region
Really?
about
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
variant, um, and then another news came in after a day or two saying that this is not as serious as Delta. The market went up, and then next day, Moderna said that this vaccine might take few months. Then market down, and people are now basically trying to find out what is going to be the impact. If you ask me, uh, everybody has strong opinion. We are having chat on the chatter. If you guys are following, everybody has opinion, and everybody has in their point of view. Ultimately ultimately what happens in the market matters. But one thing is for sure, that this new variant and also the winter and the situation, and there are two aspects. One is the COVID, another is the supply chain issue that we are already seeing. I'm not sure if you are following the news, but you may search up. There are some documentary YouTube channel, they have covered well in detail that this inflation is mainly because of the supply chain issue. And that is because they are not supply not able to clear the goods that are coming from China. So there is a major issue, and that's the main root one of the main root causes. And if this COVID thing comes in, where in case there is lockdown, like we have seen in some countries, then it's going to hit the productivity, and that is likely to impact all the stock price and of course the crypto. So crypto is not immune, Bitcoin is not immune. Bitcoin I don't want to get into the store of value discussion because it might take a lot of time. I would just stick to the analysis part at this moment. But point is, just a quick point, that there is no, crypto to be taken as any other asset like stock, bond, and commodities. it is not a heaven. Nothing is called heaven. Okay, what happens is money moves. Money moves from one sector to another sector within, with, let's say. So for an example, if I talk about stocks, when the COVID situation happened, we were in like in last February, March. If you look at what happened, market plunged, but not all stocks plunged. For an example, you know that some sectors like airline, travel, hotels, where there is, it's all about public activities, right? Outdoor activities. Those stocks were hit hard. So fundamentally, and some stocks were in demand, like all the supplier, test and pharma, and some those kind of companies. So it's easier in stocks because they are in real world business, and you can move your money into some stocks in some sectors, right? So for an example, in the year 2008 there was no escape. Why? Because it was a financial crisis, right? COVID fall was different thing. COVID was not a systematic, there was not a systematic risk. 2008 was a systematic risk because it was about a financial market over leveraged, right? And so on. So the last year's drop was a significant drop in the stock market, in general capital market. uh, but but not everything went down, and some of the stocks did really well. I personally made a lot of money in some of the stocks. It was just about moving your money from one stock to another. You have to just time it sometime. Of course, not necessarily everybody is able to do, but if you have knowledge and if you are able to do, you could. So in this situation also, you would see some stocks is actually will be more attractive compared to some other stock. But this is not the point where there is a clear line that what is going to happen, unlike last year. But the moment you will see lockdown in the US, that will be the ultimate signal for downside move. So I'm giving you heads up. We have seen some restriction in some of the countries. The moment right now it's more about travel restriction. The moment you will see major developed country where the money is, getting in the market, like the spender, the where the most of the spending is happening. If you hear the lockdown, the moment you hear the lockdown, because it's a direct impact to the productivity, you're going to see impact across all asset classes, including crypto. So the crypto, we have seen, it's not a safe haven, it's not store of value. Everything, it's just another asset class, like, as I said, equity, fixed income, commodities. Cryptocurrency is a new category. So it is not spatial at all. Okay, it's new, it's very promising, but it's not that it's immune. Okay, so my message is, whatever is happening is not just about crypto, it's much beyond, it's much bigger than that. Okay, and it is the everything is going to impact it's, so it's not that the stock market is driving crypto. Both stock market and crypto is are being driven by this situation, right? Pandemic situation. So that's the right way to put. So somebody might think the stock market is driving. No, both are following the same. So they have risk model, and they align the risk model to certain parameters. And so the COVID is the top one, and then inflation and the Fed's policy, all these factors drive the market. I mean, these are the biggie. Okay, these are the big ones. Okay, now, so this is about general market condition. So right now you are going to, if you see volatility in stock market, why I'm saying stock market is because it's a bigger market. So that's why I refer. So it looks like as if stock market is driving, but it's not. Both Bitcoin and stock market are actually taking clues from the same fundamentals. So that's the point. But because stock market could react first, because there is more money in mainstream basically. So that's why it could give me earlier clue. That's why I would refer stock market. Otherwise, there is no other reason. So that's the thing. When you see this kind of movement, it simply means that market doesn't know what to do, and that is totally fine sometime, because they're trying to position themselves whether to spend, so whether to take an advantage of, buy the dip, or cash out some money, and have some provision for rainy days. So that kind of strategy people would do, and I think the same thing applies. I mentioned 5 scenarios. I hope you referred. It's in the Bitcoin Daily channel. If you haven't, please do. And if you have any question, please ask me. So whatever I said so far is about macro factors. It's not about target. It's not about what coin X is doing and all that, right? Um, and these are important points, because it is about the direction, it's about the trend, right? It is not about one day pump here and there, it's not about one day 2 day pump here and there, right? So it's about the longer term view, and right now there is no clarity, as you could see. However, there is, since November 12th, if you refer my updates, there was, the chart was talking about weakness. So I'll show you. So I'll come back to Bitcoin now. So if you look at it, there is it was very close. So it reacted from R17, and I'll hide the drawings for now. See, this was all-time high, right? We all know this is an all-time high. This kind of retracement is not just a dip, okay? This is something else. This one is understandable, as I mentioned earlier, because when asset approaches the all-time high, it retraces and then goes up, and this should have gone up. When you see this kind of a movement, and that's where I called out, this is something wrong, and since then it is correcting. What you see is little bounce and all. I'll explain that as well from a TA point of view. But this correction is not a joke. It's not something we have to take it lightly. Okay, it's not crash. It's not a doomsday. But this is not ordinary correction. This is telling us something. It is a message. Okay, and I mentioned many times that the top is not always violent. The bottom is violent. What I mean is, some of you are probably new. So when you see a major fall, there is capitulation. When you see capitulation, is means a quick drop and a quick bounce with a heavy volume. That's what you see, and that is usually a demarcation or indication of a potential bottom, right? And this is the occasion. You take this occasion as an example, and you will see many occasions like that. I'll show you a couple of more recent one. This is COVID fall, right? This is also capitulation. This is big bang, right? So the bottom is noisy. Bottom is noisy. Potential bottom, you come to know bottom later, but it's always noisy. It's violent. You see this one, it's violent. This from here to here, from here to here, it just took it was very I mean, this 14 to 26, in couple of weeks it drops significantly, half, 50%, and so on. So it's violent that way. However, so that's indication of potential bottom. But the top is never violent. Top is never violent, it is silent killer. And you would never realize when it actually tops out, unless you see certain level, and then you would see, oh, it dropped a lot, kind of a thing. So it doesn't crash. So this is another key aspect that you have to consider in mind from a big picture point of view. I'm not talking about 1 day move, 1 week move. I'm talking about multiple days or multiple weeks of move. So when you there is no way to find out this is the top, but one thing I observe that they definitely react. I mean, starts from the resistance. This was also resistance, this was also resistance, and so on. And we had to see how it progresses, and then there is a threshold. I give an analogy of a branch, that if you imagine a branch of a tree which is like flexible enough, not the very thick one, and you pull a branch on the downside, it would bend, and as soon as you release it, regains its position. The wave is like that. Imagine this wave is like uptrend is like a branch, and the correction is like that pulling effect. So when the correction doesn't break the trend, but if the correction is deep enough, it would definitely reach to a level where it will break. But point is, usually that correction is so deep, especially when the trend is so much, um, trend has progressed so much in terms of money value. So from $3,000 up to 66 is not a joke. It's a significant, and it requires significant amount of downside move for it to break. But the point is, anyone who is buying on top will anyway lose 40-50% easily, even though the trend is not broken. You see the difference, right? So the point is, even if the trend is not broken, people could lose 50% of money easily. So the key is the guideline that I shared on a weekly. I mentioned so many, that each level can be used for risk management. So if it continues going down, you are not surprised. Okay. So right now everything is green on the right hand side. People get excited, and I don't want to kill anyone's excitement, but remind you that this kind of a move is one of move. This doesn't change anything as far as what is happening. Okay, so there are two things to be understood. One, uptrend, is uptrend broken? Absolutely not. It's not even close to the trend level risk. So this is to be understood. Are we talking about new all-time high? Are we good about new all-time high? The answer is no. Clearly no. This is the time where there is a counter trend. That means this is a potential reversal from the all-time high. If it continues going down, it could end up with end of the uptrend or the bull trend. Is this the time where we can say that it's ended? Of course not, because it's not ended. So this is the time where it's literally, we cannot say it is going to make new all-time high or it is going to go deeper, and we have to just accept this fact whether we like it or not. Okay, so as a trader, as an investor, you would have different goals, and but I'll try to cover different points. Right now, anything that you see, very simple thing, consider everything is short term. If you see this pump, everything is green, it's a happy moment. Okay, nothing to nothing you so if you see an short term opportunity, so Matic is looking good. Take Matic for an example, right? But without losing focus on Bitcoin. Okay, because Matic is unlikely to diverge from Bitcoin when it goes down. And then you have to also consider why Bitcoin is moving up, because you see the stock market is also pumping today, and it could be very different after a few hours or tomorrow. So bottom line is, this kind of move, you I would consider is temporary move. However, if we see this off with this, let's say tomorrow, day after, and if Bitcoin is able to break above 60K and S1 ultimately, then of course we can say this is over, right? Right now it is not over. Now let's look at some of the patterns. So this is wonderful, right? Now I would like you to focus on this pattern. This is like a necklace. So if you consider this is like a pendant, this is like a lace, and this is how the pattern is being developed. I mean, progressing. So you see low, then high, low, high, low, high. So lower, lower, high, and lower, low. This is how it is making progress. Now this bounce is good. People get excited, but they don't know that this pattern is being played. When it was here, everybody was excited as if it's going to shoot up. And I said, this is orange dot. Remember, I put orange dot here, right? And I said it will retest S2. At that point in time, some of you might be thinking what this guy is talking about, because it was here after this green candle, and then another amazing green candle, and there was a third day green candle, and I said it is likely to correct. And some of you might be thinking what this guy is talking about, but what we saw that it touched this, it's simply because it's following this pattern. And I'm telling you, this pattern is still active. This still valid. So sometime you may take this. You saw what Milo did. Milo shorted here, okay, and then he longed here and he shorted. So I think he made three trades. He posted on the achievements, but just by reading the, I am taking clues from the Bitcoin Daily. I'm not saying everybody has that timing, but money can be made in short term, right, at this moment. So these are short term opportunities. So when you see bounce, you know this is the boundary, and as soon as you see that it has touched and start retracing, that means this pattern could be like this, so or something like this. If pattern breaks above 60K from here on, then it is totally different, it will break. So this will be invalidated if it breaks above 60K. But if it cannot break 60K and start retracing before 60K in 59K range, that means you have to assume that it is going down again towards 57K, right? And those who are having long term, again there are different strategies I mentioned, so I would not refer those strategies or scenarios again, because those are posted yesterday on in the Bitcoin Daily, those five. So I think that should be helpful. But these is if the short term trader can take advantage of this move. So you go by long, for an example, when you see, because this is going to, it's going to react somewhere here without any doubt. But if it breaks above for some reason, then this pattern has to be changed to something else, right? But if this pattern is continuing, then you will see reaction here, and it is going to go down. So when it goes down, you should not be shocked, right? You should not be shocked. So because this is like a map, you know the map, right? So if it takes done, you should not be shocked. Now it's right now it's something like this. It could go up for a day or maybe tomorrow, but this has to be the ceiling, and somewhere in 59K range, and then it would come down if this pattern is true, and then give up final one, and then little bit of retracement. Now this projection is based on fractal. You saw I posted on academia. I'll open the Ethereum, and you will see how fractals play the role. The fractals are very hard to spot unless you have trained eyes or you have enough experience. But if I highlight that there is a fractal, and with few drawing you will be able to spot it. You see on the dojo channel, Shortsy has um, shared his version, which is an accurate interpretation of the question that I asked in the academia. That so once you spot those kind of patterns, it's so easy for you to know what is happening. So as long the beauty of pattern is, for an example, if you draw a figure with human head, I gave an example of ape for an example. If you draw a figure with a face, some it could be when you just draw an outline, right? Something, for an example, just an outline. um, so this is an outline for an example. You cannot say this is human face or ape's face, right? Then you extend this figure, and then you will say, oh yeah, this is like ape, not human, if I add more drawing. But then or monkey. But then if I make the ear bigger and some characteristics, right? But then if I add a tail, you will again deduce that to say, oh, this is not ape, this is monkey, and so on. So what we do is, when the pattern forms, there are many possibilities, and then when the pattern develops, you deduce, the possibility reduces to certain thing, and then you have more accurate outcome. And that's how TA works. Pattern based TA, which I rely a lot, right? I don't rely on indicator. I have measurement techniques and pattern techniques, so that's how I do. So that's why it cannot be automated, because it requires human brain to interpret very complex pattern, which is not doable. At least I'm not able to program it. Those kind of detecting those fractals and all on complex pattern like this. Anyway, so point is, so I'll briefly go into that Ethereum thing also, very interesting, and you will know how this guides. So I would say all the green that you see, you embrace that, but please don't consider this is everything is good at this moment. Okay, we need certain levels. So there are two different things, right? So there is nothing to worry, right? But if it comes down to this level, you should be mentally prepared. And also you should be mentally prepared if there is a major change in the market because of the macro factor which I mentioned in the beginning of the call, right? So i I froze active coins for a reason and explain the reason. So if you have any question, I'll address. I won't repeat it because I think what I already posted, the reasoning. Now, those resistance are still valid in terms of TA point of view, but not for those who are new traders, simply because I want to see how it pans out near this level. Because if you put a lot of money, for an example, it's not financial advice, but if you put a lot of money and if it is going to follow this pattern, why I should activate that coin? Because that coin is not going to go up independently. So when I see this pattern is being played and this pattern is going to react, I mean this Bitcoin is going to react at this level, why would I activate it? Except a couple of coins which I did, which could do a little differently, but of course that's just 2 coins or 3 coins, nothing more. Okay. So the whatever resistance, the resistance are not bad. The only thing is the probability. It's about the probability of hitting those resistance is low. So there is a difference. So if let's say situation, the macro factors are done positive, and situation changes where Bitcoin breaks this fractal and goes above 60, can keep moving up. Of course, those resistance are going to be valid, right? So I'm not going to recalculate them, but it is about probability of hitting those resistance. So I hope that you understand the difference between them. And I have to, some of the users joined recently and some of you might be new. So if there are 40 coins, you wouldn't understand that if you have extra money, you will just say, okay, we got resistance, let's go for it. And not everybody are equally skillful. They get excited with this kind of a green move, I mean green status, and then say, okay, everything is fine. Because it's a human tendency. You are kind of, you are desperate to see green candle, and when you see green candle, you cannot resist yourself and go for it. And my attempt is to neutralize you, not to demotivate you, of course. Neutralize not in a negative sense, but give a bigger perspective that this is the level where we have to see, and if it breaks above, then I will reactivate. So it's just a matter of a day or two. So you can say we are taking a break. Okay. And this is for someone who wants to add more. This is not for someone who is holding. So I made a clear distinction between these two. Okay, so that's the thing. I hope so. I covered this one. Let's have a quick look at the weekly. If you look at the weekly, this third week is looking better, but it all depends on how the weekends. Today is Wednesday, so it all depends how the weekends. So I would say this is a positive start, and let's see how it goes on a weekly. If you look at the monthly, the month ended, last month ended in red, and this month turned red. It started with red, but now it should be green with this, with today's move, right? So if it continues moving up and up to certain level, then we are not talking about a potential downside move, right? Then we are free. Yeah, we don't have to think about any potential connection, right? So it's just matter of waiting for a few days, I would say, especially this week, right? And some patience is needed, I would say. And any move like this you consider as temporary move. So these are my keynotes, and feel free to ask me if you have any more question. What I'll do is now I'll go for maybe before I move on, um, before I move on, if you have any questions so far, ask me, and then we'll go through all the active coins quickly. This is being recorded, so I don't want to wait for long for you to speak. If no question, I'll move on. Okay. Uh, right. So let's go back on one day. Sorry, maybe I'll keep the weekly because here it's important. Now, Aave is showing positive sign. Aave has to reach to 355, right? And you see, so I don't need to repeat the levels because I mentioned in previous video. You can refer Saturday's video, and it was covered at the monthly scale, right? So I think that should be good enough. But I'll just quickly highlight this low and this low, this this low, and then probably this low, very close by, and then this low. These are the key levels. ADA is bouncing a little, but you see it's very weak at this moment, very weak. So last week's low is the ultimate low. After that, this is very pretty low, I mean, distance wise. So there's no support in between. There is 30-40% connection potentially. If this is broken, there's nothing in between. Algo is looking much better, and you can see this is the 1.52 should be the level where, yeah, the key level, because this is where it got protected multiple times. You see there is a clear, even if you're not TA, if you look at, you'll figure it out that 1.52 is the key level, right? So if this is broken, there's nothing in between, then all the way up to 0.95, and then last this one. So please note that Alice is holding up nicely. It's still green, flat, right? So not a major problem on a weekly. Atom not so strong as you could see, and this is the last week's low. It's making new low every other week. You see low, 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 and it is not able to make any high. So this is clearly weak coin, right? So now intuitively, even if you don't know the TS, you would expect it to break above the previous high, because you see it has to break this pattern. Look at the candle, high, lower high, lower high, lower high, almost lower higher flat, right? Then a low, lower low, lower low, lower low. You see how it is progress. So it's going down. So when you look at every day like this, you see, oh, it's green. It's not. Okay. You look for weekly, and then you will get a better picture. I think so. This kind of a thing, you look at weekly and monthly, and then you look for longer term strategy, right? And I just wanted to highlight this fact that why I'm emphasizing, because when anyone put money, doesn't put money for hours or a day, right? It doesn't make sense unless you are purposefully taking a short term trade, which is fine. Which, like I gave an example of what Milo did, right? So if you are trading like that, you are purposefully trading for a few hours or a day. That is totally all right. But if you're not, then I purposefully deactivated. It's like it's not a ban, but it's a message that you don't, by mistake, don't misinterpret that everything is rosy. You know what I'm saying? Because on Twitter and all, I don't know. I don't want to comment or criticize, but somehow they are they are still selling or not understanding the reality, what is happening. They're still talking about 100K at this stage, where Bitcoin corrected by 20% after 68K. So more than 20. Yeah, anyway. But the point is, they're a little away from the reality, or somehow they're trying to convince other, I don't know, the agenda and all the. We will join them, but not now. And we are not also bare. We are just very much alert at this moment, and switch the side, right? This is a transition point where we have to be mentally ready to switch the side. I personally, I personally think that the probability of hitting 50K S4 is much higher. Though I have to keep 50-50, and I have kept 50-50 at this moment. But if I have to be a little informal, then I would say the downside has higher weightage. Okay, but I'll just stick to the formal message because right now it's not. But if I want to go ahead, then I will say it is going down. Anyway, so that's why I'm more cautious. I don't care about today's move. It's not good enough. So let's continue with this analysis, right? AVAX. So AVAX is looking good, right? But it's holding well, and there's nothing to worry unless it breaks below last week's low. If it breaks below last week's low, then of course this is the 77, 79 is the range, and then this is the 53, 51 kind of a range. It's the support. XS is similar story. These are strong coins. Okay, these are strong coins, but at this moment I don't see any weakness. Right, so 119 is the support, and the next support is around 107. After that, there is no support if 107 is broken. Then the deeper one block, as you could see, this you could see this is a potential top. This could go down. In fact, yeah, so block is not looking good now. You see this candle pattern, this is not positive at all, right? So this could go down 30-40%. So this is showing weakness on weekly, even today. Next one is BNB. Oops, somehow it's not loading up. What? Why? Come on. Okay, here you go. BNB looks strong. So once it breaks above 666, whatever number, 670, let's say, then we can expect it to continue on the higher side. But this is whole entire thing is consolidation zone. It reached to this level 4 weeks ago. Again, it reached to this level. Again here, again and again. So this is positive, but we cannot say. So if it's about growing money, and you cannot grow money unless it is in this region. 670 plus, 680 plus, ideally new all-time high. So you may try, but as you could see, for 5 weeks you are here. 5 weeks there is no growth. So that's the point I'm making. Right? So it's about growth. Okay, the next one is CELR. CELR is on edge. If little bit of downside, last week's low and last week's low, then there is no major support for this coin and it could really go down. However, this pattern actually could end up with a recovery. So this could be a potential bottom if these two lows are not taken. These two low are the critical level for CELR. This pattern could allow total recovery in this at this angle. You can imagine a mirror image where these are the two center pillars, and then what you could imagine is or visualize is a reflection or mirror image of this on the right hand side. That would be the recovery part. However, with the condition that these two lows have got need to be maintained. If these are taken up, then this pattern won't get developed. Okay, so CELR is very interesting, where this could be a week where it will start moving in at this angle. Don't expect a vertical move, but at this angle. Okay, but which is fine, right? So this is at a key level, decisive level. Crow is not bad at all at this moment. It's holding up, but this is indication this is into congestion. This is a free flow. You see the free flow. This candle, this candle, this candle, this candle, this free flow, and then this kind of a correction shows that this is a congestion. So it is up by 10%, but that's nothing. It's just one day move, because this kind of a coin has a habit of making 10-20% move, and you cannot time it. You cannot time one day move, because it could go down with the same percentage. But this is a clear indication that it is in consolidation or in congestion. So for crow to be back in the earlier mood, it has to break above 0.82. Otherwise, consider this is likely to be into some kind of sideway move, and potentially it could go down as well if the market goes down, right? But though it is a good coin, right, the good level is 0.82. If you don't want to be part of a consolidation, and nobody would like to be part of consolidation. As I speak, block has started correcting. You see it just dropped by 2-3%. So note that. Doge has been moving sideways. You see it. You see the same pattern. Can anyone tell me which pattern is this one? Pattern means the behavior. Can anyone from the call? I just explained for one of the coins. If you remember, it's okay. It's not a clue. Is anyone?
Descending triangle.
That's one thing. That's one thing. But this candle behavior is very much similar to the coin that I mentioned just now. Anyways, atom. You see, it's very much identical. This one, this segment. And yeah, you're right. I mean, if you put everything in perspective, then this is, if this goes down to this, which I mentioned many times, and then it could rise, but then it would be a nightmare for Doge. Of course, I'll stop taking Doge because it will be a huge loss for me if I keep taking Doge in that case. But this is not conclusive yet, right? This is still moving sideways and a little off balance, more leaning more on the downside compared to last 2 weeks, where it was here. It was right in the center. If you draw, so if this is high, this is low, high, low, high, low, then this is your midpoint. This is off balanced. I hope you get it right. So a little off balanced, and that's why it's you cannot commit yourself for a long term. I hope I'm making sense here. You see, because we are going to play for long here. As I said, unless you have a strategy, so you have to be very clear with your strategy. If you are short, if you want to take short term, you take advantage of this kind of move. Okay, there's nothing to do with what my freeze and all that. Then you can do it, but then remember you have to time it. If you cannot time it, you will miss it, and it's usually the hard to time it unless you are experienced enough. And if you are someone who doesn't have time, so there are two things: you have to time it, and you have to have time. Two things: timing and having time, enough time to monitor it, track, and react. So both so you if you are with a day job and doing something, then short term trade is not for you. You have to use the alert wisely, and quickly, and react to it, and so on. So you have to first decide. The whole entire green thing could turn into red in matter of hours, because the macro factors are not in favor at this moment. So that's why I froze everything except couple of coins. Anyways, let's get back. So you see back to back red candle. This is a very common bearish pattern. You can search up, I won't say the name. Open the candle pattern. I'll give you a hint. It's called soldiers. Sorry, black cows. Three black cows? Yeah, I think so. I get confused. Cows and names. I kind of know the pattern, but sometimes I forget the name of the pattern. It's like, but um I think black cows. This is bearish pattern from a candle point of view. Right. Anyway, so the dot has to break above 44 plus 42. Say, okay, now I'm back. This is no good. No good. In fact, this kind of move, not financial advice, but this is a best opportunity to reduce. Yeah, three black cows. Crows, not crows, cows. Crows? Are you sure crows or cows? Okay, anyways. I'm not so good at remembering name of the patterns. I forget sometime. Anyways, but whatever is the name, who cares? Um, what I was saying, yeah, this kind of move, I think I would use some time to say, okay, let me book my profit. EGLD is showing weakness, as you could see. But this is not as bad as many other coin, right? So this could be the beginning of potential downside move, and then you can the way it is likely to move, that it will create a replica of this green straight down here. Okay, and then you can refer my video later, and then create another symmetrical pattern. So the way, if I may draw, roughly speaking, it will move in this direction. It's likely to, but if it breaks above 447, then it won't happen. If it doesn't break up above 447, then you will see something like this. It will touch 220. So how can I keep my resistance on when I see this? So I need a proper level for me to keep the coins activated. Otherwise, I, you guys won't listen to me. But it's not a ban. Anyways, Ethereum is doing something different, but Ethereum has something, um, some of the things that I noticed. I'll spend little time with this and explain. multiple things. Okay, I would draw. In fact, I already drawn this. Now, this is tricky. One thing is you draw this line, connect this one, this red dot, which is in a range of the current level 4700 to 4900. So this is a major resistance zone. Both this line actually came from the parallel line to this pattern. Sorry, little higher maybe. You see, like this, something like this. Yeah. Anyway, so that way this yellow line comes and then red line, and then this gives me the congestion point, a major resistance zone. Okay, if this is broken it will look for R17, and then we talk about 10k, 15k, 20k, 25k, 30k. I have all the levels ready, so I'm not against bull. Okay, but I don't want to commit my money at this time. This is not the time for long-term commitment. I want i want Ethereum to be somewhere here, then I'll commit, because this is a heavy resistance zone. I don't want to commit my money here. I'm okay to buy expensive at a higher rate, but I don't want to get into a point where it could correct from this point and then or go into sideways move. I mean, consolidate. Anyway, so that's one thing. So right, so this is confluence of two trend line resistance lines. Another thing, that the fractal part, this you see, let me draw the path. Took, right, and then of course upside move. Similarly, or maybe I'll keep it. It'll go smaller, so it'll go smaller, so like this one. But I'll stopping here, but for a reason, so you can distinguish it, right? So like this, and then of course the third one, you can it's too small, but this is how. So this arm that you see, this arm you see, you compare with this arm, and then there is a congestion point. So the point, it's not exactly, the fractal is not that you copy and then miniaturize, but it's very much similar shape that you see. And if you look at it, it's shrinking, getting smaller and smaller, and that's where. So, and what happens when it reaches to this, it drops, right? So if it drops, and then we'll have to see if it goes up and break above, then it will be totally out of this particular consolidation. Then this R17 becomes a launch pad for very high level. Okay, but this is a point where it has to take a major decision, and that's why it's important that there is no major commitment. Yeah, somebody might say that, okay, I want to commit myself, but I want to commit myself, but then I'll get out. That's fine. So if you want to jump into something which is resistance, it's a choice, right? So very clear choice that you jump in, but then you are ready to get out, or you wait for it to be clear and then you jump in. So it's a choice. There are choices. There are always pros and cons. As long as you understand pros and cons of decision you take, you're good. This is not, there is nothing called right and wrong. Okay, right and wrong is always retrospective. When you take decision, it is about taking decision based on your ability and available data. Later, you can say whether it was a mistake or great move. Because when you take, you cannot say it's a mistake or great move. It's a decision. With all the information you have, you take decision. It's only the in the future you look back and say, was what right? I mean, was it a right one or a wrong one? So when you take action, action is never action is never right or wrong, unless you're purposefully doing something, right? So then it's a different thing. Otherwise, right now you just use all the information and try to take the best decision you could. Okay, let's go back to our analysis on a weekly. So if you look at it, it has broken the channel, so to speak. Yeah, it has broken the channel. And I mean, this trend line, let's forget about channel for now. But the trend line, this provided the support you see so many times, but this particular last week broke. It tries to re-enter desperately. You could see for last 2 weeks it's desperate to re-enter, right? So it wants to re-enter, which is positive. And the same time it is touching this support. I should maybe make it lower, right? I don't want to keep changing, because here this was the level 50, and then it penetrated by 49, and then it again penetrated 47. It might penetrate in 46 and 4. So I don't want to keep changing, so maybe I'll keep as it is. The point is, the week ended or closed about this support there, so there it penetrated intra week. You see these spikes. So anyway, so what is positive, that it's trying, it's not giving up. And what is, so you can clearly say that this is not a position where you want to commit yourself. You would like a file, I mean, I would like file to be here 72. Then we can say, okay, now we're not talking about any side down. Right now it's more downside pressure is high, right? So now somebody believes in scalping and all. Now scalping and all isn't like, if, as I said, you may do it, but then you have to know when to get out. So it's, people assume that this low is the last ultimate low, and it's not nothing wrong. But then you're assuming. When I say 72, it's not assumption, it's a technical level where, based on my experience, that certain levels of bounce pull the asset out of risk, compared to something which is somewhere here, for an example, which is very close, pressure is very high for the downside move, right? So one can there are different strategies. One can try something small, but big commitment, no. In my best practices, maybe a little bit, but with a knowledge that this is the level that I need to keep an eye. So scalping, people think, oh, I this is bottom, buy the tip, but this is not a scenario where this is not regular correction. What is regular correction? Regular correction is a correction where it hits the resistance and retraces, and then it goes up. When it goes up, it wants to continue because there's nothing wrong. But we are in a situation, this is not a regular situation. This is where the macro factors are playing the role. So this is different time, right? FTM. So FTM this week is a little better. It has to climb up. It requires 6.6 2.65 at least. In 2.6 is good enough, I think. 2.6 2.65. Otherwise, this is not enough. This is not enough. and you could see it could make this head and shoulder. This pattern is actually for many uh, coins, but this pattern is not a complete pattern. Okay, so the pattern develops, and this is not the complete pattern. The head is not fully complete. So if it goes down and comes to this level, then the head is complete. Then you can say this is head and shoulder. You cannot say this is head and shoulder. You can say the head is forming, it's forming the head, you can say that, but you cannot say this is head and shoulder now, because if it goes up and reaches to 2.6, then it's not head and shoulder. So you can say it is giving a hint of potential head and shoulder, but there is no way you can say this is head and shoulder at this moment. But it definitely gives you some idea that as long as it is not invalidated, you can assume to be head and shoulder, which is fine. But you cannot say this is it at this moment. Okay, so next is FTT. So FTT, if you look at it, it's near support, right? So there's nothing attractive here unless it goes and breaks above 60k. There's nothing attractive, and if it does, then there's a lot to talk about. But this is still around this area. It is in a more like a survival, like many other coin you see surviving. If it could come down, and then after that there's nothing much. This is the area where there's support. After that there's nothing much. And yeah, so as I said, if you want to take risk, you take it knowingly that you enter here, right? And then you decide when to get out. The approach B explains. So there's the new member often ask about supports, and approach B explains the support. And I have provided supports here, but the good way to find support is by calculating the loss, right? Because if you spend little money, your stop loss can be deeper. If you spend a lot of money, right, then your stop loss cannot be deep, because then the loss would be very very deep, I mean high. So that's why the stop loss is proportional to your buying actually. So many people think about stop loss when the coin is falling, and they think about selling. That's not how professionals do. Professionals decide stop loss before buying, not when the coin starts falling. Professional will say, this is my entry point and what is my exit point. If your exit point is too close, they reduce money. If you reduce money, your stop loss can be deeper. And that's this is how the money based stop loss is calculated, not price based, money based. What is money based means how much loss you are ready to take, and you set your stop loss according to that. That's money stop loss. It's a method. Not many people use it. I really strongly recommending this method to be used, which explained in approach B, because ultimately it's about risk management. Is all about protecting your money. Price doesn't protect your money. If I say this is the stop loss, or maybe I give you this is the stop loss, what if you put a lot of money and that is like 30-40% drop? What are you going to do about it? Are you ready with 30-40% of loss at a portfolio level? Absolutely no, right? 30-40% is a suicidal. It takes a long time. So you have to reduce your money if asset is not doing well, right? And no matter what feature you use, no matter what condition, if you see that things are not going well, you have to take action in terms of amount of money on stake. You cannot keep the same money. You have to take action, right, as an investor. Right. So I'll continue doing, but in between I'm just adding some keynotes as in when I remember contextually. You see now this is in balance at this moment, GRT, but you can draw a simple white line. If it breaks this white line, then it's in trouble, right? And starting with last week and last week's low is your immediate defense. and then this line is another defense, and then this 0.61. At this moment it's not bad, but kind of okay. Yeah, in balance. HNT is moving going down. HNT did really well, no doubt about it, but right now it's not doing well. You see, this actually is very similar. If you cut out this part, this is very similar to this one. I hope you are able to visualize it, but I'll let me add it. You see this? Now you cannot assume that you're going to follow this one over here. You cannot assume. You can expect, but expectation is not the driver for the trading. Yeah, you have to see this green candle somewhere here. So if it breaks above R6, in other words, then you can say that it wants to make another leg like this and reach to higher level. So at this moment, upside move, downside move, upside move, downside move, identical move. But you cannot say now that now because this also this after 3 candles or 4 candles or 5 candles it went up, it is also going to do something like that. No, you have to see, that happening, and then only you take action, right? You cannot assume things, right? So point is, unless and until it breaks above R6, ideally 49, then only it deserves some money. At this moment, assume it's going down, and I'm trying to be more explicit. I'm not, the direction is still down, okay? And I'm giving you condition where the downside move will stop. This is very different approach, but maybe different than what you think. But if you will see, sometime you have to experience it. So either you accept it, or you see what happens in future, that if it doesn't reach to the required level, what happens. My approach is little different, right? I give you required level. That means if the required level is not achieved, assume the direction remains the same, which is down. Now HDR, 2 days ago I mentioned about this green level. This is newly added coin. Unfortunately, it became a victim of Bitcoin downside move. It happens sometimes, right? You add a coin and Bitcoin drops. What can you do? It also drops. So that's the case here. Now this is the support I gave. If this support is broken, I'm not interested in this. And this was the green level expect given. You see the reaction near the green level, right? So this is the importance of these levels. Then it has to break above this convincingly, not just touching, convincingly. Then it's you can say now, it's going for the higher. It reacted. This is technical level I calculated. I'm not just giving you any random number. These are technical levels. And when you see a bounce, you get happy, excited. But technical levels matter, trust me. The crypto is following technicals. There's no fundamental. Okay, let me not say that blindly, but it requires little explanation. There are fundamentals, but I have very different point of view on fundamentals. That the fundamentals fund I said many times, I'll reiterate. So 2007 was the peak where there was a bull market and all. There was 2008 9. The fundamentals were stronger in 2008 and 9 because all the crypto made huge progress, but there was a bear market. So I the I'll simplify this. Fundamentals are useful. It is about coins longevity, life. If the fundamentals are good, you can say the coin is not going to die. It is going to survive for multiple months or a year, as long as the fundamentals are good. Okay, very simple. The some fundamentals in crypto, unlike stocks, because stocks have results, revenue and all. Here there is no revenue, so there is no fundamental. As simple as that. If they are not making any revenue, there are few exception, but then there's no fundamental, there's no balance sheet, right? You have to have a balance sheet, say this is the profit, this is loss. What is, how can you otherwise find the fundamental otherwise? The fundamental in crypto are very different. There are technology related fundamentals, and they are very different. So those fundamentals would just tell you that whether the coin is going to continue. And of course, if the coin is going to continue in a longer run, it is going to progress in terms of price, and it's product as a product. So the fundamental, in my point of view, will tell you that the coin is going to continue, and if it is going to continue, it will do well, hopefully. But the many coins that you will find from year 2016 and 17, they have not even reached to the previous all-time high. There's so many examples you can dig out. Okay, and some of the coins are flat, doing nothing, and they're still there for. So the longevity also, it doesn't mean you can make money, but longevity at least tell you that it is not going to die. So fundamentals will tell you that they are doing something, and they are making, if they are making progress, and if there's more economical activity, right? So the fundamentals are useful to understand, but a fundamental will not tell you overbought and oversold condition. Only TA can tell you. There's no doubt about it. And the same about stock. You can say, so when the crisis happened, let's say year 2008 or COVID, what happened to Apple stock, for an example? Like, was the went down? No, of course not. But it's a situation sometime that TA can figure out that the fundamental level, sorry, technical levels are broken, so it's likely to go down and so on. And so there's nothing wrong and on fundamentals when price correction. Price has life cycle, it has cycles, and they correct. So the both fundamental analysis and technical analysis are complementary. They need to be used together. They are not against each other. They're not in competition to each other. People misunderstand. They try to favor TA or fundamental. No, they are, these two tools are to be used together in order to win the most. And so that's my take. So they are different, and both need to be used. But my interpretation is fundamental will tell you the longevity and the progress for a longer term. TA will tell you the cycles, correction cycle, and also overbought condition, oversold condition. Fundamental is not going to give you that. So year 2008 and 9, as I said, made more progress than 2007, but we had bear market and 90% correction. So if the fundamentals were really good, why asset corrected by 90 to 99%? Nobody has answer. That's a simple answer is fundamental doesn't tell you the price action. You need to have TA. Simple. So it's not complicated once you accept the fact. Okay. But if I go beyond, in fact, if you do good TA, you don't need FA, because if the chart is healthy, the coin is healthy, project is healthy. You really don't need fundamental analysis, in my opinion, if you are good at TA. So that's my take. Anyways, Anna, I mean, you need to have knowledge, but you don't need FA to trade. That's my point. Chart is enough. KCS is doing well. I think maybe I should, but it's near R5. So I was just thinking for 10%, what should I do? When I saw this one, I thought I'll reactivate, but then I didn't change. I mean, I didn't change the status for KCS simply because it is near R5. So for 10%, I thought, why should I change? That's why. Right. So those who are holding would nothing wrong, right? But this is also a guideline that if it is near our resistance, then you don't take risk, because then there's likely to be reaction, right? So that's why I didn't reactivate. Otherwise, KCS is fine. This has made new all-time high, strong coin. So I didn't reactivate simply because it's near R5. That's the reason. Okay, KDA has to break above 22 plus, at least in my opinion, right? This is not high enough. So this is consolidation. Good coin, no doubt about it, but it's under consolidation. So I don't see any growth here. Longer term, not yet. KSM, KSM not bad, especially this week. It requires more height. 450, unless it breaks above 450, this move has no significance. Though it's good, though it's positive, it's not at risk. 450 is required. So required level to be noted for longer term opportunities. Also, this is near R9. So this is still valid. Previous resistance are still valid. You see how it got rejected here? You see how it reacted and then broke above, of course, but then reacted. They follow technicals. You see, previous resistance matter. This matter. It's not. This is like proven thousands and thousands of time. So somebody is interested, might think, but then I would say at least it must break about 30. Then next time it should be able to break above, in my opinion, right? At this moment, this is not good enough, though it's good, but not good enough. Situation could change very quickly. So I mean, support point of view, it's very obvious. Last week's low and this week's low, these are the two lows, and then there's nothing more. LTC, same thing. Last week's low to be watched out, then this support level, and then ultimately this one. And this has to at least break 258 for it to continue moving up. This is not good enough. Luna is a beast. So again, for the same reason, I didn't activate, because it's near R4. But if you're interested, this is still doing okay. And but be prepared that it is likely to react here, right? But this is a beast. And but yeah, I think this is one of the strongest one. Mana, no good, not a good sign. So it reacted at R8. R9 is ready, but it must break above R8 for it to go for R9. So I'm happy that this is not a random place where it reacted. So it did its job. Now we have to align our thoughts, say, okay, now this is not, it's not ready. Now, if you're holding, of course, R7 is the red level, because then it's not good if it breaks below R7, especially if it breaks below 3.2, it's really not good. But yeah, up to R7 is fine, but then R7 to be washed out, and ultimately 3.2 after that, it doesn't make sense. Matic is looking good. That's why I reactivated today. We'll see. And there is also a reason, because R18 is far, right? So two reasons. But with a that if Bitcoin plunges, this is not going to continue, unlikely to continue. So keep that in mind. So that is always underlying or implicit understanding, that if Bitcoin goes down, you have to look into all the coins. If any coin is not following Bitcoin, then you can be relaxed. No action to be. But point is, otherwise, you have to prepare for a plan. In fact, you should have a plan before, as I said before, buying. Anyway, so one coin is going down and there's no sign of improvement. So showing weakness. Last week's low and last week's low to be kept in mind for risk management. Ultimately, this is the one, but this is pretty deep. But yeah, I mean, this is more from trend point of view, in my opinion. But I think support wise, last week's low and then previous weeks, yeah, this low to be kept in mind. The Opal is fine at this moment. Yesterday I reactivated this coin, but if this coin goes below R3, which is 5.7, then it will lose its charm. At this moment, there's distance between the current level and R4. So I thought maybe it has 30-40% space, a room, right? Then that was my thought process. RNDR is weak on a weekly basis. Those who have swing alert, I already mentioned this earlier and also earlier. So I have two levels ready, but then it's only when the high level it breaks above certain levels. In this case, 7.4. Unless and until it breaks above 7.4, you forget about this coin for now. And it is likely to go for 4.5, 4.7 range, this range as an immediate support. I don't see any strength here. Also, Navigator didn't give approval. That was interesting because when it was listed on Binance, it was so tempting. It went up by 20%, but Navigator said no. I said, good job. I said, good job, because it was a test. So it's like, see, when you automate, it's not in my hand. Navigator is semi-automated, semi-automated, as we call it in the US. Right? So if it is fully automated, you have to rely on that system or indicator, and nothing that I can do because it's algorithmic. Um, but my manual TA is very different, and not to be clubbed with any other feature which is automated, because my TA is not cannot be automated. I wish I could, because if I could, then I don't have to put so much of effort. But unfortunately, I cannot. At the same time, I cannot share my stuff with anyone who might be able to do. But I'm a programmer, IT, like I know how challenging, unless somebody is great with computer graphics and AI. If somebody is good with AI and computer graphics, then that person can nail it. I did some AI in machine learning. I did some certification on machine learning and AI. Um, and I at least can tell that it's not easy. But I don't want to say by doing certification I'm an expert, but at least I can say that it's not easy. So human brain is amazing. I'm not bragging myself, but anyone who is doing manually TA, I always, because I wrote so many programs in my life. I did this machine learning and AI certification, right, and all. And as I learn, and I would appreciate the human brain even more, because the way human brain identifies the pattern, and it's incredible. I mean, if you have to do with coding, oh man, oh, this is nightmare. You need extreme mathematical challenges and so many things. So more, you would appreciate more, even more. I appreciated more when I learn AI and simple things that human do. We take it for granted, and you have to really see how complex program and the mathematics involved in doing something like simple object recognition is so incredibly tough for machines. And if you look at the algorithm and all, and that's why I really appreciate more when I learn those kind of new technologies. So incredible. So that's why what we do as human, something very trivial, but it's extremely difficult for program, for machine, extremely. That's why my method is not programmable at this moment. Anyway, so sand is under correction and reacted from R7, so there's no cheating. There's no cheating. And I already mentioned that it is looking weak. Those who have swing alert on O plus already knew. I alerted, right? So no surprises. SCLP, see, it has to break up our R1. So one of the users asked twice, and I give the support. It is near support. So how can I say it's good or bad? It depends on how much money you put in, and I explained that. right? Now, from risk management point of view, this week's low, last week's low, and of course this support when it was last week, this support had to be taken in consideration for risk management. If you're not going to do anything, then sometimes it's too late. You, and whatever you do in gradual way, incremental way. You don't wait for the last moment, right? For example, I'll give you different analogy. I'm trying my best to give analogy. So for example, you, the 98.2, let's say it's a normal temperature, 98.2 Fahrenheit is normal temperature, body temperature. So if the temperature goes to 100, you don't go to hospital. You compare that with sell off. But when it reaches to 100, you don't take it for granted either, isn't it so? So you change your habit, whatever you're doing. You don't try to run for sure with 100-degree temperature, right? Normally. So what you do is you restrict your daily. So if you're doing exercise, you skip it as a your daily routine. When temperature reaches 100, you would take some pills, right? Fever related pills, and you say, okay, let's see what happens. The point is, we take some action, we make some changes to our lifestyle when in this scenario temperature reaches to 100. If it reaches to 102, then you say this is getting worst, and still it's not a dire situation. 102 doesn't make you people kill. I mean, doesn't it's not life threatening. Okay, so you may visit doctor because maybe the pills are not working, so you may visit your doctor and see what is really happening and so on. You might not admit it to hospital, but if it goes above 102 and so on, of course doctor will say no, you need to be hospitalized and so on. So in our normal life, this is nothing but risk management. You don't recognize, you don't say that, but this is nothing but risk management. So when I give you different support levels, multiple 2 3 supports level, you compare with 100-degree temperature, 102-degree temperature, 104-degree temperature. So if somebody is doing nothing and try to jog at 104, what happens? If you got this analogy, you got the risk management. I have nothing to explain more. This is as simple as I could come up with. There's no other simplest explanation probably I could come up with, right? So, and sometimes things are simple. What is not simple, you know what I'm saying? The mind. The methods are there, but the mind is not simple. Mind says, why should I skip my exercise? Nothing happened. Then you see what happens. So you keep doing it. So the point is, it's not at 100 degree temperature, you don't take bed rest. Okay, that's extreme. It's like selling all. And another extreme, if it is 100 and do nothing, is also another extreme. That means you're ignorant. You are not, are assuming that it is all right and everything will be all right by its own. So sometime it works, fever goes away. But do you really, if it goes to 102 104, do you really want to say it will be all right, or you really want to see doctor and do something about it? So you take some mitigation, yeah, some kind of actions, right? So what we do for our health, do the same for your trade, because it's about health, right? Risk management is what. So I think this is the best example or analogy I could think of. Mm, yeah, so just it's about convincing your mind to do. That's the planning. This is called planning, right? So many examples like that. Another example that I give is, you're driving. Imagine you're taking a car from a garage. You don't start at what? You try start at like 2 miles, 2 kilometer to 5 kilometer. When you're on street, 5 miles, 20 miles. When you are on some state highway, then you're on express. certain. What you do is you're ramping up your speed based on a condition. When you take out your car, you don't take out car at 50 miles per hour. So why would you spend money to start with? This is another analogy I give on a incremental buying. So the way you incrementally increase your speed while you were starting from taking out your car from the garage all the way to the expressway or highway, can you do the same for your trading? If you do, I mean, you're doing for driving, so why can't you do for trading? But no, people want to start with 50 miles, 60 miles, 80 miles to start with. What happens? You dash someone sometimes. So anyways, so these are very, very, what we do in life. Trading is not so different, let me tell you. Only thing is people fail to train their mind. That's why they fail. So mind game. My job is to give you TA and all this stuff that I'm. Your job is to control the mind or manage your mind, and we will win as a team. If I fail, you will fail. If you fail, you will fail. You see my point? I'm doing my job, so I'm not failed for sure. But that's 50%. Other 50% is with you, the mind game. But I'm giving you enough examples, and you still have a chance. Otherwise, opportunity channel is not a signal channel. I often say that. And if you are not using all this data or information, then you are wasting money, in simple words, because then you can go for a cheaper option who will give the target, and that's it. Right. So if this platform has value, and the uh, of course you have to test and try, but not to be ignored for sure. Anyways, let's back to the business. I mean, this is also business, but coin. SKL is approaching the support, so far so good. I mean, in a way, this neither. So this is the required level, this zone, right, 0.5, and this is the support. So it's in between. So it says I don't know what I'm doing, but hanging in there. So it's just hanging in there, nothing much. Soul is doing good, so I lifted. It has, so it's one of the strongest one, you know that. And R20 has some distance, so it makes sense. It makes sense. It could give you something, right? And if it goes down with Bitcoin, then you see what. But at this moment, unless see if it is above, as long as it's above 173, it's all right. If it breaks below 173, that's a point of concern, because then it would jump, get into this one, and then again it could bounce up to this, and then look further lower. After this zone, there's nothing. There's a free fall up to 58 or 50s level. We don't want to talk about that because it's not the real. I mean, it's far-fetched. But the point is, as soon as it breaks 173, it's a high alert. Okay, and starting from 211, which is R19. So it is here right now. If R19 is broken, that's the first alert, and then uh, the last one would be 173. Of course, this last week's low is interim, but this, you see, it's ultimately 173 would matter the most. After that, of course, you could use all these levels, but that's too deep, isn't it? I mean, who would like to keep watching if you take here and it plunges to 40%? I don't. That's too much. That's not risk management. That's like living in hope. Hope doesn't help trading, let me tell you, because hope doesn't change the trading setup. Hope, expectation, desire, these are emotions. They do not work in trading. They are placebo. You know the placebo, right? They're placebo. Uni Uni is trying to break above R8. It has to break above 26, 27. So I think not bad, but not good enough, right? And of course, this last week's low, and then September 20th low, critical one. So that you take that as the immediate support. Otherwise, it's too deep. Other levels are too deep, right? The next one is VET. It's hanging in there above support, not bad. But as soon as it breaks this last week's low, it's a big it's a highlight, and ultimately this one is the last one. There's nothing in between. So VRA very similar to Atom and some of the coins that I mentioned. You see, red, lower low, lower high. So it has to break above R3, which is 0.07173, maybe a little higher, but at least that much. And you see R2, it got support from R2. Maybe I'll zoom in so you could see very clearly. You see, this is a range bound movement between R2 and R3. Do you want to really get trapped here? So VRA, I'm not saying it's amazing coin, but are you really interested in here? Ask yourself after so much of knowledge. Now you're better equipped, I'm sure. After this call, I think it is going to be very different for you. Of course, if you are open enough, if you are just listening for what is good bad, then there won't be any difference. But if you are trying to think from my perspective, at least for a few days, then it could make a difference and see how it goes. At this moment, why would anyone take this coin unless it breaks above R3? There's no sign of bounce. Okay. So one say, okay, what if it bounces? Okay, then you take it. But then you need to know when to get out. Right? So the probability of higher high is high when it reaches certain level. Otherwise, you could be stuck for days, weeks, and potentially lose value. So buying at higher is not bad, which is totally counterintuitive. People prefer to buy at a lower price, but they look for the price. Price is not everything. Let me tell you, setup is important. Price is not at all important. Why would you buy Bitcoin, which is 64K or 66K, which is pricey, compared to coin which is like below 1 cent or 1 cent? It's not about price. It's about two things. One is the setup, right? Another thing is about the value. Price is not value. Okay, price is not value. So lower buying at a lower price compared to this, mind says, are you kidding? Why should I buy when it is expensive? What you miss as a trader, you miss the probability of the outcome. You're looking at price, but you're not looking at the probability of the outcome. The probability of outcome for this to go down is higher compared to this one. So if you don't consider probability, which is so much important as part of risk management, then you're missing a key piece here as a trader. So the setup is important. Technical levels are so important. Okay. And then the probability of success is higher. So price is not everything. Percentage gain loss is not everything. But most of the people who do not know the trading and all this thing would look for price and percentage gain and loss, and they decide what is pumping, what is dumping, what is the price. Oh, this is very cheap. Oh, this has this market cap. That means, oh, 1 million. That means it is going to for 10x. This is those people who have no clue about fundamentals. If a coin is introduced, of course, if the coin is going to be cheap. Do you think the coin is going to be having a 1 billion market cap? Does it mean it's going to be 1 billion market cap? Not necessarily. So of course, when the coin is introduced, it's going to be few million, a few thousand, few $100,000. It doesn't make any coin with a with a long term, unless there are other factors involved. So yeah, that's gambling, speculation. That's not trading. So, but yeah, I mean, sometime by fluke you enter something and goes up and enjoy. Sometime, as I said, sometimes if you drop a leaf in a stream, right? The leaf floats. You think the leaf is actually is navigating? No, of course not. The stream is. So sometime the coin goes up because the stream, the market is moving up. It doesn't. You don't give credit to the coin. It is because of the market. So don't assume when you see the leaf floating, you don't assume that leaf is actually driving or sailing, right? It's just because of it's just riding. So that's an example. So that's how it is. So the fate of that leaf is good as long as the stream continues. Sometimes and sometimes, I mean, that's not perfect analogy, but I think you got the gist of it. Anyways, with this note, I think I covered a lot of things, all the coins, all the active coins, and I hope you have understanding of the current situation. We can have a look at Bitcoin before we close the call, because it made a move a little bit. So yeah, this is still in a range. So this is 59k. There's some room left up to 60k. Then we'll see if it enters into 60k plus 61k, that kind of a thing. Then the situation will change, and then we'll come and review later. Okay, but for now, whatever I said, let's consider that as the current situation. Now we can also have a look at um, the traditional market, the stock market. The bond yields went up. Of course, people are looking for a little safe haven. Treasury yield has gone up 2%, 3%, and yeah, so no surprise. Nasdaq went up, S&P went up. Makes sense. The question is it for today or also going to be tomorrow, day after, next 3 days, 1 week? That's a question. So Bitcoin move up. It's not a surprise. Stock market is moving up too. If stock market is down and Bitcoin goes up, then I would say there is something different. This is no different. So yeah. So I think of course it's positive, right? So it's positive. We take that way, and we can say now it it is moving in the right direction, trying its best to come out of this mess, and it's just matter of for us to see if it can break above 60k and then and continue moving towards S1, right? So from here until 60k, just keep watching without major commitment, because this is the boundary. Okay, so that's it from now. I think I covered everything that I wanted. Let me know if you have any question. I'll stop the recording just to keep the length smaller, I mean optimum.